Item number 20.
Under OC Community Resources, acting as a Board of Supervisors and Orange County Housing Authority, approve amended Mental Health Services Act $70.5 million permanent supportive housing spending plan. Acting as a housing successor agency, approve changes to policy and process, and authorize director or designee to issue 2020 supportive housing notice of funding availability. And we do have 18 speaker requests.
Okay, I think we have several items today that have a multitude of speakers, so I'm going to allow for 2 minutes to make sure that we get through all of our board agenda items, and everyone who wishes to have an opportunity to speak, they'll be able to do so. If you'll call the first 3 speakers, please.
Father Dennis Chris, Rebecca Kovacs Stein, and Eve Garrow.
Madam Chair, we have 3 minutes prepared, so 2 won't work.
Okay, well, we have a number of items on the agenda we need to get through today, and we have a lot of speakers for several of the items. I want to make sure everyone who is attending will have an opportunity to speak on their items when we get through the full agenda. Okay, so we're going to allot for 2 minutes per speaker to allow for everyone who wishes to speak to have an opportunity to do so. Okay.
Okay. Very good. My name is Father Dennis Chris. I'm pastor over at St. Philip and Easy Parish, and this Saturday will be the annual longest night commemoration. And so what we would like to do is to list for you the 207 people who died in Orange County in the last year without fixed abode. With a fair number of them, we have pictures of them and stories about them as well. So I'd like to then begin. There was among those who died without fixed abode was Stephen James Renoir, Richard Eugene Marone, Mitchell Andrew Copeland. There's a picture of him. I don't know. Let's see how that there. It gets shown over there. Allison Cravens Barber, Edward Henry Olag III, Cheryl Ann Adams, Daniel David Nelson, Caitlin Alexandra Janikin, Fernando Guerrero Cervantes, and Jade Dean Grebe. There. I'd also like to underline a person who is not on the OC coroner's list. Her name was Andrea Skelton. She was the only one in 2 years that by us died when the encampment by St. Philip's was already off grounds. She died of cardiac arrest there. She was not on the record, neither for Fullerton nor by her name. Perhaps she went by another name, I don't know. But she was the girl. Okay, very good.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next speaker, please.
Chairwoman Bartlett and members of the board, I'm Eve Garrow, a policy analyst and advocate with the ACLU of Southern California and a member of Housing as a Human Right, Orange County. The research shows, and we all know, that homelessness kills and that housing saves lives, and we therefore support the commitment of $70 million in Mental Health Services Act funding to permanent supportive housing for some of our most vulnerable community members. We know that this is life-saving. However, we also know that it's simply a drop in the bucket, and we believe that you know that as well. Your own analysis shows a $700 million funding gap in your plan to house everybody who's living on the streets currently in permanent affordable housing. We have consistently been up here urging you over the past several years to commit more of your almost $1 billion a year discretionary fund to ending this crisis and this carnage. And we now also urge you to put a funding measure on the ballot and let the voters decide whether we want to continue down this path of rising homelessness and needless deaths or end this crisis for good. I would now like to read some of the names of people who have passed in this year to honor them. Michael Speake, Raymond Oliver, whose photograph you see here, Donald Ames II, Octavio Teosio, Terry DeLao, J. Lucas, Taylor Kelly, Michelle Camarillo, Shelley DeRay, Leonard DeVoe, and Michelle White, who died recently, and here's a photograph of a memorial service that we recently held for her. She died at Bridges at Kramer Place. I thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please, and could you announce the following three speakers?
Callie Rudder, Katie Brazier, and Dave Duran.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Kovac-Stein. I'm a member of Housing is a Human Right OC, Orange County Poverty Alleviation Coalition, and I'm on the steering committee for the underserved for the newly formed Buena Park Collaborative and Resource Center. So it's an honor to speak on behalf of some of our homeless friends that have passed away. So the gentleman in the picture, his name is Tommy Eugene Salazar. Others are Denise Lee Jensvold, Andrew Henderson, Scott Spencer, Jay Fouts, Josephine Torres, Ronald Martin, Lisa Peck, Petru Montine, and my dear friend, Albert Aguirre. I was fortunate enough to advocate for him. He was at the Coral Motel, part of the Illumination Foundation Street to Home program. He successfully exited out of that into a micro community, and unfortunately passed away. This is something from his sister Carol, who I had the opportunity to meet. She goes on to say, Albert was a good brother. He had a hard life and struggled with mental health, but it didn't stop him from being a loving and caring person. He would take his shirt off for you and was that kind of person. I'm so proud. My brother, before he left us, he was doing well, having a roof over his head and taking care of his health and going to his appointments, medical and dental. And also, he was in the middle of having some things expunged off his record. Anyways, we will all miss him and love him dearly. May he and other men and women that have lost their lives rest in peace. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Brazier, and I was here about a year ago to share about my family's story. Unfortunately, my loving father, Paul Frank Brazier, was one of the people we lost in Orange County this year to homelessness and the lack of appropriate services. After years of navigating and seeking help from so many agencies, especially in the past year here in Orange County, my dad passed alone around 4 a.m. on April 10, 2019. He was only 55 years old. He passed away a few streetlights from where we lived in Fountain Valley. 2 weeks before that night, we went to dinner and I told him I believed in him and that I had hope that things could still turn around. He said he believed it too. I knew it was important to say out loud because the things we experienced navigating the programs that y'all operate and the systems many of the folks who are here today represent had been very disheartening and cruel to my family. I miss and grieve him all the time. My gratitude for all that we were able to experience together is the only thing that gives me comfort. He was so much of who I am. He gave me everything he could and loved me with all of his heart, and I him. I wish we had more time together in this lifetime, and I know that we will always be connected, but my dad deserved so much more, and we did fight very, very hard. But the systems were against us every step of the way and allowed this to happen, and I know we're not the only ones. And as an advocate, I watched it, but we were trying to survive, and now I have the privilege to advocate, but I would love to share more at another time. I'm still finding it very hard to accept that he's not here, and I wanted to share more about who he was as a person, but it looks like I only have 2 minutes, so it's short. I just want to say that my dad wanted to live maybe more than a lot of people. He was survived by his mother, his brother John, his 3 daughters, his stepdaughters and grandchildren, ex-wives and best friends and partner, and we all loved him very much.
Thank you for your comments.
We miss him, and we pray that his energy and joy he brought to all of our lives will carry
your time is
on
up.
in us. Enough is enough.
Okay,
We want
your time is
affordable
up.
housing and
Please.
service.
All right, next speaker, please. Okay. All right. Next speaker, please.
Next two speakers are Callie Rudder and David Duran.
Two minutes. Your decision and excuse to limit remembering those who have passed is unconscionable. Patrick Hill, Sherry DeMinci, Landon Buchanan, James O'Keefe, Isidro Rojas Jr., David Sorensen, an infant female by the name of Cuevas, Scott Turner, David Whipley, Neparteria Bailey. This may be the last time in public that these names are read. That does not mean that these individuals should be recognized without value. Their lives matter. You are writing your own epitaph as I speak, by your actions, by your neglect, and the public is recognizing how you will be remembered. Will anyone come to this dais to honor you for your neglect? To honor you? Excuse me, am I bothering you in your conversation? This is a good example of neglect.
Great, thank you for your comments. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
The next three speakers are Mike Robbins, Lou Noble, and Mark Richard Daniels.
Of course, I've sometimes been mean, but I will say that we did begin nice by presenting numbers and solutions, but then it came to a different pass when it was revealed all the people who died on the streets. Luckily, today we're getting some money, but obviously we need more. I will tell you some of the past is these names. These are the people that Andrew Doe's words killed, that Todd's rhetoric killed, and Sean, Lisa, and Michelle certainly aided in their inaction. And these are some of the people who passed this year. Robert Bernard Aiello, Frederick Espinoza Lucero, Michael Louis Almazi, Michael Sablisky, Kevin Doy-Kaitron, George Benjamin Maxwell, Catherine Faye Dodson, Nicholas Matthew Tomalinas, Martin Jean Katzman, and Daryl Anthony Bozier, who's actually had some things written about him nationwide and worldwide. With great sadness, we share with you this morning that Daryl Bozier went home, of course, to God on December 31st, 2018. This was his birthday. He was one of the original neighbors in Santa Ana that quickly became a friend to many. He worked to teach the truth about homelessness. He shared his relationship to God, and he would cry to be free of seizures and other medical issues that were working against him. A good example of many of the people that we're trying to help that aren't crack addicts who would turn into a crack house. Daryl hadn't been in Santa Ana 2 years, but at this particular time when he died, he was residing in Anaheim. Frequent trips to the ER for his medical condition landed him in Anaheim since his mom lived there. He impacted people all over the globe. Hopefully this story will impact you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully we move ahead.
All right.
And the past can be the past, And I think that even Andrew has maybe changed some of the rhetoric.
All right,
And
thank
with
you.
70 million,
Thank you
it's
for
just
your
a start.
comments.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Over 200 people die every year in Orange County of homelessness. We've been coming here for years to asking to even open those SB2 zones and make them to structured campgrounds for those people that are waiting, that are sick out there. The names are too long to even tell their last names. Michael, Rihanna, Steve, Stacy, Pete, David, Jose, Michelle, Linda, Lucas, Michelle, and Kim Clark. Can you please put that other one up there? Kim Clark was homeless. And I remember it for years before she even got help. She was diabetic. She was dying out there. Finally, a few months, she got housing, but she was transferred to LA. She was alone and died in her room of cancer. This is what we have become. It's not all about mental issues. Mental issues have come from people being out there chronically homeless. This is the reality of it.
Please.
This is the reality of
In the
it.
chamber. Thank you.
And you are accomplices to their deaths because you haven't even opened those spots. Cut the red tape, please.
All right, next speaker, please.
The next three speakers will be Linda Linkering, Dave Freeman, and Tom Fielder.
For whatever actions you have accomplished, if you want to call them accomplishments, there's so much more that needs to be done because this compounds daily as we speak, as we move about. By the time I get to that door, it's even growing higher than that. So we have to do more in this great, rich country of ours. Dwayne Lopez, Roberto Amana, William Wells, Joseph Rangel, Thomas Bryant, Gary Seeds, so you see the picture there, David Stack, Nicole Easton, Christina Savage. So when you look at these pictures here, just remember that someone remembers, someone cares. Your name is whispered in someone's prayers.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'd like to read my list of names first so that I have enough time, because it's important that you need to hear these names. Susan Berger, Abel Guevara, Raymond McDonald, Peggy Preston, Michael Riggs, David Cross, Armando Martinez II, Philip Bloom, Pilar Beltran Knights, Leticia Marquez, Gonzalo Evaristo Tomas, Leon Bickett. I want to circle back to Leticia Marquez, who had a small write-up in the paper. Leticia Marquez was struck by a hit-and-run driver after midnight near Edinger and Standard Avenue. She died of her injuries after being transported to a hospital. She was described as a homeless person and died at age 40. I think we can all agree that 40 is too young to die. However, the average age of a person who dies while homeless is 48. Homelessness kills, and it does so at too young an age. So how do we end these unnecessary deaths? By ending homelessness, and only permanent affordable housing ends homelessness. So we urge you to support this agenda item and fully fund future affordable housing developments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Hi, My name's David Freeman. I'm a member of Housing is a Human Right, OC. And as we speak, the people that report to you are out on the streets criminalizing our friends and bringing them closer to death each and every day. The Boise law is still in effect. However, your county has continued to treat the people in a manner that is against the Boise law. So why don't we be kinder and gentler? How about it's Christmas time? How about if you put out an order that all of the first responders, the fire people, the police departments have to be kinder and gentler and remind them of the rights of those people that are living without a roof. These people died this year on the streets. Robert Dea, Leonardo Queller, as shown, Angel Galino, Oscar Parra, William Walls, Kurt Hofling, that's Kurt, German Mendez Garcia, Johnny Marion, Leonel Garcia Diaz, Christopher Wild, and Elliot Fishman. We could set an example for all the rest of the counties in California. And the next step is you're going to have to go to Washington, D.C.
Thank you for
and
your
start
comments.
panhandling
Your time is
Donald
up.
Trump in order
All right.
to get the
Thank
funding.
you for your comments. Your time is up. Madam Clerk, if you call the following three speakers, please.
Pat Davis, Lisa Pedersen, and Janine Robbins.
Hi, my name is Thomas Fielder. I'm a member of Housing is a Human Right, Orange County. And we're here today because, while 70 million is great, we need at least 10 times that much. Good news is, you've got it in your budget. You've got close to $1 billion in discretionary funds that you could spend on housing tomorrow if you wanted to. And you could end this cycle of death. The following people died this last year on the streets, homeless. Taylor Thompson, Jessica Fleming, David Twee, Julian Bernal, William Montague, Pamela Garcia, Jose Carrera Barbosa, Huang Tran, Gregory Whittingham, and Tyrone Ketsey, pictured here. Does this look like a person who should be dying on the streets to you? Not to me. These people also died this past year on the streets. Douglas Robio, Jose Dominguez, Timothy Manning, Ernest Parra Jr., Brian Swan, Andrew Braff, Sean Vittorio, Carlos Aguilar, Vicente de Leon, and Derek Wilson. And then finally, a person who does not appear on the list is Mika Piohia, pictured here. She had a long-term relationship of about 12 years with Harry Hidalgo, also homeless. They were in the Maxwell Park encampment prior to entering the Salvation Army shelter. Harry had been exited a week or so before she overdosed, and she was already in a coma when he found out what had happened. Apparently, nobody at the shelter tried to inform him. Fortunately, her mother was at the hospital when she died, but Harry didn't get to her until she was in a coma. This is the kind of tragedy you can help avoid.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. We do speak in support of certainly this item, but I am concerned when I see that the reduction is necessary from 500 to 400 affordable housing units. So let's hope you're going to find some money to fill in those gaps. Today, we are here to, as we said, speak the names of those who've passed and the cruelty that we've seen happen is a heartbreaker, and I didn't realize it was going to be so cathartic for our folks. But in doing these pictures last night, we know too many of these people well. They didn't need to die. James Gallion, Jennifer Kuhns, Virgil Dwyer, Lauren Vincent, Ernest Mesa, Mary Hardy, Garrett Galloway, Teresa Cherry, Dustin Nordval, Mark Moen, David Harris, Alejandro Martinez, Rafael Morales, Sandra Van Zant, Michael Yarborough, Stephen Schofer, Jason Bowen, Donald Lofton, Jesse Ramirez, and Frankie Tellez, who was born and raised and lived his entire life in Orange County. He died on the streets of Garden Grove. He was born August 1956, died August 9, 2019. 4 children, 10 beautiful grandchildren, and life was cruel. He worked as hard as he could, and we came to know him in those struggles. One of the things I'd also ask is if you could look at how the coroner captures this information, this idea of without abode. We have folks who die in treatment, they die in hospitals, they die in minimal transitional housing arrangements, and the number is low. We know there's probably double this who've died from the condition of homelessness, compacted by other conditions. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lisa Peterson. I'm with the California Poor People's Campaign as well as chair for the Orange County chapter. The names on my list are Ricardo Eugenio, Andres Chan, Anita Rhodes, Joseph Sherwin, Francisco Martinez Aguirre, Todd Coleman, Kyle Parrish, who's in this picture, 33 years old, born, raised in Garden Grove. He went away on a football scholarship, and unfortunately his life ended on the streets. Kosol Chim, Hamid Razvar, Eldon Kirifi, Michael Garcia, Mark Campett, Carlos Flores, Craig Kissinger, Sean Valdez, John Crass, Randall Dodd, Infant Female Anderson, Brad Infinger, Dimas Romero, and in this next picture, it's Arthur Johnson. As a favor to Katie Brazar, who was up here reading about her father, I'd like to finish her words. So what I'm about to read comes directly from her so everyone can hear about her father. My dad was so happy to be a father of 3 girls. Everyone always commented on how much my dad loved us. He knew my mom was pregnant right away and told her I would be a girl and guessed my exact weight and length. For some time, he cared for me as a single dad and was so joyful and energetic about it. My grandmom said I should have been named Paula since we were so close. He taught all of us to swim, including any friend that he visited and didn't know how. He enjoyed cooking for us and seeing if we would enjoy the dish. He loved taking vacations at Laughlin and Big Bear, and he took us to the fair religiously to watch car races and to church. He grew up on a motorcycle and had 3 scars to prove it. At 16, he learned to become an electrician from his older brother, and his biggest client and friend said to him that he was one of the most talented and honest men that have ever met. My mom, Kathy, said, when you are with Paul, you know you are safe and cared for. My dad was a very strong man who enjoyed working out, but he was also strong emotionally because despite all the trauma...
Thank you for your comments.
He experienced a lack of care he received.
Thank you for your comments. All right. All right. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please, and if you call the following 3 speakers.
The last 3 speakers will be Tiffany Huddleston, Maura McCulloch, and Tim Houchin.
I'm Janine Robbins with Housing is a Human Right OC. Had this board fulfilled their 10-year plan to end homelessness, perhaps we would not be here reading the names of over 200 individuals who died on the streets of this county this last year. I would hope that we would not have to be here next year. However, based on your actions, I sincerely doubt that. So we will see you again. Joseph Baran, Liberto Caballero, Randolph Aguirre, Benjamin Hine, Joel Lopez, Pascal Torres, Glenn Moberly, William Glover, Edward Slank III, Victor Estrada, Walter Carter, Mario Santavanez, Rodolfo Agredano, whose picture we'll see right here. James Talbot, Josephine Becerra. This is her photo up there. Julian Tafoya, Jeffrey Weingard, Philippe Verdugo, Raymond Pendergast, Laura Sitoris. Everybody dies. Everybody. But most of us don't die by the age of 48. Being homeless on the streets of Orange County is a death sentence. 48 is the average age of homeless deaths. And also, I would like to just say to you, Lisa, how dare you cut our time when you let 3 minutes, when you give the speakers about utility companies 3 minutes, but yet to read the names of the homeless individuals who died, how dare you cut our time?
Next speaker, please.
Tiffany Huddleston, Maura Mikulek, and Tim Houchin.
Hi, good morning. I just want to read a few names, but I also want to say something about, we all know about the Supreme Court's deal, and I think they're laying that on you guys to make decisions, to move the county. And, you know, 3 days till Sunday, I come up here and I see these faces, and it's everybody sits, doesn't do anything. There's money, there's ways you can do it. There are 34 cities, you could push each city. You guys need to make a move, because this is getting old. Todd, Alonzo, Stephen, Artern, Kristen, Myra, Leonardo, Carolyn, Anthony, Israel, Josh, Jose, and Jose. Those are the people I want to read off in real quick. I know I don't have a lot of time, but mental health is a big thing. We're working on music. We're following it. In this county, we're all about money. And just as we know CPS steals children's and gets a lot of money, I feel like music is going to do the same thing. It's going to be a rabbit hole that we get stuck down, that certain people in the county are going to say that people are mentally ill. It's not going to work. We have justice groups. We have all sorts of groups. We have partners. They're really worried about this. And they're going to have tracking on everybody. And we've thought about this. We've talked about this. You have these millennials that are coming up through all these colleges that are powerhouses on this. You guys got a war on. I mean, you need to do something. We want housing first. Okay? Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm going to go fast because I only have 2 minutes. I hope you can listen. I'm Maura Mikulek. I'm a member of Housing is a Human Right, Orange County, also of the South County Homeless Task Force. My friend Shannon spent Thanksgiving in San Clemente freezing in the rain and getting soaked. Shannon is disabled and she's on the waiting list for permanent supportive housing, but she spends each night on the street in San Clemente trying to figure out where she can sleep and be safe and legal. We have no shelters in South County where she can go. She has nowhere to go. I often find her in the morning inconsolable after she spent the night out in the cold and rain. Her belongings are sopping wet, or she's experienced trauma at the hands of law enforcement. It kills me to drive away at night and leave her and many others out there. I've twice put her in a hotel because I genuinely thought that given her mental health condition and medical conditions, she might not live through the night. This is not okay, and you must agree. You must agree that disabled humans who have nowhere else to go and who have no one else need us. They need you. You need to invest the bulk of almost your $1 billion in discretionary funds. You need to prioritize building at least 3,000 units of permanent supportive housing. If you don't, Shannon may die. Tammy may die. Norton may die. Sam may die. Mark may die. Karen may die. Meg may die. If I go on long enough, I would hit on one who will die. You know these names now. If we have to get up here next year and say one of those names as having died on our streets, the blood will be on your hands. Do not take that as the cliche that it can be. It would be a fact. You can save lives or you can be responsible for deaths. We need housing for seniors and disabled people living and suffering on our streets.
Thank you for your comments.
You have the power. Use it.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Supervisors. My name is Tim Houchin. I am formerly homeless and on many occasions slept right outside the walls of these chambers between 2011 and 2015. I'm now the Executive Director of Hope for Restoration, a member organization of the Orange County Continuum of Care. I come before you today to inform you and the public in general that this Saturday, December 21st, is recognized across America as National Homeless Persons Memorial Day. I have organized Homeless Memorial Day events myself in Orange County since 2014, at a time when I was still homeless. This year, my nonprofit, Hope for Restoration, along with partners United to End Homelessness and sponsors Pathways of Hope, Mercy House, CityNet, and Anaheim Lighthouse, will host an event called The Longest Night. The event will take place at the Anaheim Cemetery beginning at 4 p.m., and that's on Saturday. And members of our communities from all walks of life will gather with us to honor those that died without permanent, healthy, safe, and secure places to call home. We will provide those that died with dignity and respect in death that they were otherwise unable to find in life. For those who cannot find compassion in their hearts to seek solutions to end homelessness, perhaps wisdom can be found enough to clearly say that none of us want to see homeless persons living and dying on our streets any longer. Once we can find this common ground, then we can begin moving forward with solutions that benefit both homeless persons and benefit our communities that have been impacted by homelessness. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, any additional speakers?
No, we don't.
Okay. All right, so item 20, colleagues, do we have a motion on this item?
May I speak, Madam Chair?
Yes, Supervisor Doe?
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the comments today on the need for action, I would like to take this opportunity to put in context the things that this board has done in the last 2 years. This item is a culmination of the last 2 years of this board's direction to support the development of affordable and supportive housing. In the past 2 years, we allocated $70.5 million in mental health funding for the development of supportive housing. 40 million of that went to the state special needs housing program. And with that, we have funded 296 units of supportive housing. The county completed a housing funding strategy together with cities through the Housing Trust that will fund another 2,700 units of supportive housing and will help bridge the financing gap for the development of that housing goal. The board approved and executed a joint power authority agreement to join and support the creation of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust, which now has 21 of the 34 cities in the county joined to be members. And together, we will work to provide more resources for the development of affordable and supportive housing. This board has also approved additional non-mental health funding and project-based vouchers to allocate to provide more NOFA, which is the Notice of Funding Availability, to help leverage additional funding for the development of even more affordable housing to the tune of over 400 units. And today, the recommendation is to allocate the remaining $30.5 million from our mental health funds to the county housing NOFA and to the Housing Trust in order to continue to support these efforts. In addition to this allocation, I have also, as Vice Chair of the Housing Trust, to request county staff to investigate ideas to seek further funding for the trust. So the approval of the NOFA and the approval of an allocation of $10 million in mental health funds will help the county to continue to to build supportive housing. So this work is not done. This is only one more step in the many steps that we will take to adjust this need for housing. And so with that, I move the item.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any objections? All right, that item passes. Item 21 has been continued. We now